All right, let's get going here. Welcome, Joseph. Lillian has been here for every single training we have ever done at Access Growth Lab and Access Virtual Staffing. We have a bunch of people that have shown up and have been in the distribution and been on a lot of these trainings. I think this is our fourth or fifth training now, and we're just getting going. We're getting started. We're our goal here, and I think Joseph probably meeting you for the first time, and I see Antoinette Claire Villar is tuning in. And so, just to give you guys some background, Access Virtual Staffing, we do staffing for U.S. based businesses primarily, but finding top talent across the globe and then introducing them when the needs arise. And one of our initiatives is to build a training and development platform for virtual assistants and to build a community and to build skill training and all different kinds of things. So this is the start of that, and we'll have different community tools and different things over time because our business is just getting started too. So as our client base expands, we'll have higher demand for virtual assistants. And our other mission is to train virtual assistants at high levels so that we can then feel confident or more confident that you have the skill sets to perform at the level that our clients come to expect. So that's what a lot of this is starting to be about. And one of the things in particular, just to plant another seed, is that we are getting more and more focused on some LinkedIn development as well and training VAs on LinkedIn and some other components of that where we may have like a LinkedIn Academy and then partner with a lot of our clients here in the US to provide that kind of support. So that's that. As I was coming into this, I was just thinking in general, welcome Rika as well. You know, some of the things that I've in my own, I share my own wisdom sometimes in career development and just personal development. Some of the most important things is, am I taking care of myself first? I know we work hard, we have families and different things, but also, are we getting good sleep? Are we drinking and staying hydrated, good nutrition, feeding our mind some good stuff, getting exercise? So that's just a message that was on my heart coming in here is, are you taking care of yourself? Because I think if we aren't taking care of ourselves, our work also can suffer. So just a message to say, make sure you're getting good sleep, good health, good nutrition, good fitness. That all plays a role in how we perform. The other thing that was on my heart and mind coming in is the topic of, we'll get to Slack in a little bit, but the idea of proactivity, being proactive, it could be in an interview. It could also be for whoever you're working for. Are you going above and beyond? I've seen it happen just a couple of times recently with some of our clients where a VA, and internally actually sometimes too, where a virtual assistant will not have a task to do because either they've completed all their tasks or they just haven't been given anything. And so it'll be like, I have nothing to do, so I'm not going to do anything, versus a proactive approach might be, I'm going to generate some ideas that might be valuable to the person I'm working for, or might be valuable to the person that I'm interviewing for. Like, let's say you're in an interview, what would it be like to say, hey, is there a small project I could do that would demonstrate some of my skill sets? I don't hear that a lot in interviews. So if you're interviewing with someone, you might say that. You might say, hey, like, this has been a great conversation. And they say, do you have any questions for me? Ask some questions. But one of your questions could be, is there like a small project that I could do that would demonstrate some of my skills for you? Because that was something that came up in a recent interview for someone who has digital marketing skills. And the employer said, yeah, I like their portfolio, but it doesn't really give me a taste of what they can actually do. Could I have them actually edit a video and put a thumbnail together and do all of these things? And we said, absolutely. But that was the interviewer requesting it? What if you were the interviewee and you asked them, is there something that I could provide or put in front of you? So just something to think about. And if you're working with a client, the same thing. Are you, if you don't have enough to do, can you think about what the client needs and suggest a couple of more options that you could actively be working on? And that would create a big difference in terms of them not needing to figure out what it is that you need to do. You're actually being proactive and suggesting some of those things. And so that's that. Angelica, how does that sound? Does that make sense? Anything you would add to being proactive? Because Angelica is someone who is part of our team and she's consistently proactive. She'll say, hey, do you want me to build this website? She asked me today, do you want me to help build a deck for the training? You know, I didn't ask her to do that. She asked me if she could do that. But Angelica, was there anything you would add to being proactive? Because you're someone I think about when I think about being proactive.
Yeah, sure. Of course, I think that is one of the best trait of, if in case you guys will plan to be a VA, because most of the business owners are hiring a VA for them to lessen the burdens or the tasks. So being proactive, ask some questions that they might forget about to do so. So like what David said, sometimes I always ask, do you already create this? Have you already created this? And that's the good thing, because he didn't did that for that moment. So I already do that for him. So it lessened the task um that he have for that day. So I think that is the insights that I have for now.
Yeah, and sometimes it sounds obvious or it sounds like, oh, of course, be proactive, but there's a difference between like understanding that and actually thinking creatively about how can I add more value to whoever it is I'm in front of, whoever it is I'm working for. Like we as leaders, me as leaders, like I have all kinds of things going on. So sometimes it's I want people to suggest some things that are good ideas so I don't have to think about all of that. Joseph, I saw you raise your hand.
Oh,
Come on in.
no, yeah, I don't know, I was looking for the little hand, raise hand, but I was like, it's all good. It's a small class. But yeah, no, I was gonna say kind of like, you kind of like said it there. Sometimes, as a business owner, you have so many things that you're doing. Like you just get blinded, and like things just merge together. You're like, oops, I didn't do that, or I should have done this. So it just helps to make operations a lot smoother when someone is kind of like, hey, and a good VA, like you said, is gonna start kind of like adapting and knowing your business, as long as you communicate and do things with them too. So that way they can be like, oh, you know what? They start suggesting because they see your methods and your vision, and it might not be exactly what you want, but that's where the VA comes in and sometimes gives their little sprinkle of fairy dust, and then they make everything better and like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted. So no, I totally agree with what you're saying.
I love it. And Joseph, could you maybe share a little bit about telehealth? Joseph's got some good marketing in the background there, so I'm curious because it
Yeah.
actually has come up in our business as we, right now we'll say, hey, we'll work with any business and find great talent, but one of the things that we're actually looking at is in some ways pharmacies and different U.S. businesses that would need people who can answer the phones well and do different things in the healthcare space. So I'm just a little curious
Yeah,
about you and your business. You want to
of
share a little bit?
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, of course. So I've sold insurance for 10 years. I've started first with WellCare, and then uh did Medicare Marketplace.
Where are you located? Just so
I'm
I.
in Indiana, in Northwest
Oh, okay. Oh,
Indiana
you're
by
in the U.S. All
Chicago.
right. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Florida. I just moved here like a couple years ago.
All right.
But yeah, so I've sold insurance for several years, and worked in basically every major brokerage in America, the major ones that are worth working for. But I just didn't feel the I'm helping people part. because when you're in a call center, there's, they're not gonna say it, but there's a quota. If you're not selling, you're not a sales rep, and you got to go. And unfortunately, sometimes you can only sell the leads that are coming in. So, it doesn't matter how good you are if I can't sell you a beater when you have a Mercedes. It's just not gonna happen. And if I do, I'm just not even a good person. Right? So who does that? So
Yeah,
I didn't like that. I was turning into I didn't like that. So I said, you know what? Let me start my business on my own. So I just went as an independent broker for a year and a half. Um, and the business started doing a little bit better. And I was like, hey, you know what? How about me trying to build other agents so that way they can help, because I know that just like me, there's so many people frustrated in the insurance field. They stop selling insurance. They just go to customer service or manage something else because it's just a pressure that's not even good anymore. So in March 13 of this year, I opened my agency, Telehealth Coverage. Right now I'm a company of one, right? Until I start hiring agents and things like that. But yeah, so right now I focus in Indiana and Florida. Those are the two states that I'm licensed in. And slowly but surely want to start hiring agents and DoorDash in my spare time, because I can't have a 9 to 5 because my business wouldn't be able to make it. So I business during the day and DoorDash at night.
amazing,
Yes,
amazing.
sir.
Um,
And telehealthcoverage.com to plug it in.
we
I'm just
probably have more to talk about because it sounds like the fun fact about Access Virtual Staffing is our founder's business is actually Access Insurance, and so it's an insurance company that does home and auto, but some other little things. But one of the things we do is employ a lot of virtual assistants to support the insurance business, and we have a little bit of a vision of working with um, training virtual assistants in terms of being on the phones and helping out
hmm
pharmacies, for example, or just answering basic conversations. So that may be
exactly.
something just for us to talk about later.
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
And did something appeal to you? Are you a Slack user? And
Oh yeah. So I've always, in different jobs they had different platforms, Slack, Teams, or whatever. But I was actually considering Slack because it's just a real easy way to communicate with crossing over leads, or like you have someone, what they call that, like vetting the call a little bit before me or whatever, and that's a real easy way to communicate. It's a real easy way to have team meetings and things like that. And I like the platform, but I was a user. I wasn't I never operated, so I was like, hey, I'm sure I've already learned several things that you said, so you say a lot of smart. I appreciate that, but yeah, I was like, I know that I can get some knowledge from here.
very good. Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to now get into a little Slack. I'm everyone, by all means, I am not a Slack expert. I was hoping one of our VAs here who is actually really well versed in Slack would be joining us, but we moved it to Saturday and all that. But welcome, Gene, Rika, Infinix, Jane, Eric, Lillian. We've had a little conversation initially just about taking care of yourself and also taking care of your health and being proactive. Like that's a real important skill as you work with and for people is being creative, being proactive. And sometimes the leaders, they don't have the ideas that you might have. And if you're forthcoming with them, rather than saying, I don't have anything to do, what do you want me to do? You could say, I don't have anything to do. What would you like me to do? Here are 3 suggestions that I have that I could work on. Would any of those sound appealing, or would you like me to work on any of those? So that was just a little example and suggestion for. I once heard that from a manager. Don't come to me with the problem and say, I have a problem. Let me know you have a problem and then suggest a potential solution. I may or may not agree with the solution, but it's better that you think about the solution before you just come to me and dump a problem on my desk. So I've taken that to heart, and I, as a leader now, appreciate when somebody comes to me and doesn't just say, "Hey, I don't know what to do. I got a problem." It's, I'm not sure what to do. I got a problem. Here are a couple of suggestions. And now with AI these days, there's like no excuse for you to just write that into AI. Here's what I'm dealing with. I'm looking for a couple of solutions. Could you suggest some solutions? And then it's so easy now to come armed with something. And if you're good at just writing a prompt in AI, um, you know, it takes 30 seconds to come up with some good ideas and then just read through them and say, oh, I think this is a good one. I'll present that one. We had a conversation yesterday. There's an equation: VAs plus AI equals ROI, return on investment. So one of the things that I think is critical now as virtual assistants is really getting good at just understanding and using AI, even if it's just at a basic level, putting in a prompt and getting some good feedback from ChatGPT or some other source. With that, I'm going to get into Slack. I don't know who's on here in terms of expertise within Slack, experience within Slack. This is going to be a more rudimentary introduction, very basic, but I'll take questions and I'll share my story about how we've been. So I'm going to pull up a little proactive PowerPoint that Angelica made for me, which is nice. Thank you, Angelica. And I'll hit the presentation view here. We'll present. Hopefully I can, how do we do this? Present full screen, present. There it is. I'm just getting used to Canva. I don't know how to use Canva either, but that's a different story. So getting started here, we are jumping in. What is Slack? What is Slack? Some of this may be obvious, but if you're new to Slack or have never used it before, I'll paint a picture. This could be handy in this simple training could be handy in having a good conversation in an interview. It also could be something when you're working with a leader. We find a lot of leaders who are new on their virtual assistant journey, but also on their operational journey of their business, meaning they're not used to using all these systems. So even if you just have basic knowledge of Slack as a platform and you can talk about it, they may say, yeah, let's try that out. And then you might have to learn how to use it. But even just being able to communicate about Slack adds value to you. I don't know how to use Slack really well, but if I'm talking to a potential client, I can talk about it intelligently enough such that they say, oh, that might be a good idea for my business. I don't know how to use it. I'm not an expert, but I know enough to talk about it. That in and of itself can be valuable. So what is Slack? It's a communication app for work. It's ways companies can communicate. There's all different ways to do it. I'm sure people are familiar with other communication channels, whether it's text message, whether it's simply WhatsApp, like basic stuff. But Slack optimizes the ways in which we can communicate. You can create different channels, different chats. You can actually integrate different technologies like project management tools, whether it's ClickUp or some of the other tools that you can integrate and use to not only communicate, but send files, send updates, have it linked in to cause reminders for people on your team. Lets teams chat in real time, organizes messages and channels, can be used on the phone or computer. So it's an app that can be used on the phone or the computer. If you just heard that little beep in my background, that was Slack and somebody messaged me on Slack. Good for both small and large teams. And I'll pause in a little bit. I'll show you our Slack and then we can take some questions too. So as I'm going, write down a couple of thoughts, a couple of questions, maybe something you're curious about. Key features, there's channels. So you can actually create different channels and talk on those channels. One of our channels is the executive team. One of them is the digital marketing team. One of them is the recruiting team. So grouping people in different groups of channels so that there's a specific topic that you're talking about, and that's all that's talked about in that topic, or it's only for a particular team inside the business, so that then you can silo different conversations and it's not all jumbled into one chat. You can also do direct messages, you can share files. That's a great resource too. So if I need a file, rather than having to send it to me on email, you can just pop it in a chat and boom, I've got the file. Similar to being on Zoom, where you can dump a file in the chat and then everybody in the room has the file. You can mention people. So there's actually a mentions and an update feature where you can look at what have I missed? What communications have I missed? So you don't have to go into every single chat. It'll actually aggregate the chats and the messages that you haven't seen yet so that you can see them and easily see what you've missed so far. Search, find messages easily. Um, let's go on to this. Benefits. So this is a good slide or some good information that if you are talking to a business owner and you're in an interview, or you're working for a business owner who could benefit from Slack, you want to think strategically. What is the pain point that this particular business owner is dealing with that Slack could be a great solution for? And if you can share that in an intelligent way, that can be powerful for the business owner, also powerful for your credibility. It's like, oh, you know, Joseph really knows this, or Angelica really knows this. Yeah, let's do it. When we talk more intelligently about what somebody else needs and wants and what their pain is, they feel like, oh, they get it. Yeah, I would trust and try this particular platform. So what does it do? Keeps all team chats in one place. So the business owners are not spread all over the place on different channels. Saves time, no messy email chains. Sometimes email can get so jumbled up, but if there's just like, it doesn't require an email. We just have a real central place where communication is easy, back and forth, different channels, different people. Improves team communication, boosts productivity. So one of the things I, as a leader, and I know a lot of leaders, and I've worked in a lot of corporations with big teams and big groups of people, everybody says, why do we need to have another meeting? Why do we need to have another meeting? If there's ways that we can effectively reduce the need for meeting and increase productivity, that's a win-win for the organization. It's certainly a win-win for the leader. So that's a key element of Slack. It reduces some of the meetings we need to have. It increases the productivity. Communication is a lot quicker. And it connects with tools like Google Drive, Zoom, all these different things. You can actually launch a Zoom meeting from a Slack channel and get right into a face-to-face conversation and deal with the communication right then and there if you integrate the Zoom app. With that, benefits for employees, quick questions, get quick answers. You don't have to write me an email and wait for me to respond. Put it in a Slack channel. I'll see the message. I'll get an update when I check it. Boom, I can respond in 30 seconds. And we've got quick answers to questions that don't stall you from moving forward and the business from moving forward. Stay in the loop on updates, easier teamwork and collaboration, fewer emails. We've said that, clearer records of decisions or tasks. It also has obviously a history of the conversation. So you can go back a couple of days, maybe a file was shared, and you're like, where's that file? I know that Angelica sent it to me. So I'll scroll through my feed and my communication with Angelica to find the file that I know is somewhere. I don't have to go into a folder system. I can go into the chat with the person that I communicated it with. So ease of that. How to use Slack well. Create clear communication channels. So if you are the virtual assistant who's using Slack and teaching it to the company, you want to create some good, clear channel names. Like what is, for the sales team, and everybody in the sales team would be in that channel. Marketing team, digital team, recruiting team, whatever the ops team, whatever the channels are, naming them well and clear is really important. Use threads to reply. So you don't have to put everything in the main chat. You can actually create a thread with a conversation and then reply to the actual comment rather than just put in a brand new comment. You can reply to the actual topic and the initial message that somebody sent. Mute channels you don't need to check often. You've already heard a couple of my updates on my Slack. You can mute it so that you're not distracted. That's another just general thing for everyone here. A top tip is limit your distractions so that you can work diligently and focused. Unless you need to be on call, put your notifications on pause and work hard for a half hour, then check your communications rather than trying to do something and then hearing something and being distracted. A lot of times for me, it's been when I do my most focus work is when I eliminate distractions and focus on one thing at a time. Mute channels that don't need to be checked off and use emojis for fast feedback. It could be just, oh, I saw the message. Let me just let people know I saw the message, or check, this is complete. So emojis can be a powerful and useful way to communicate here. Pin important messages for everyone to see. So in each channel, you can actually pin the messages. What else do we got? Follow us on social. So I think that's the end of our presentation here. But what I'll do also is I'll take some questions and I'm going to show you I'll show you a Slack example. So here on the left-hand side, you'll see Peter Swain. As I scroll over it, you'll see Access Virtual Staffing, and then you'll see Snack. These are three separate companies. So you can actually have three separate organizations that you have integrated in. I'm not very active in the Peter Swain community, which you can see here, but you can see the threads. The threads are just conversations I've had with other people in the organization, Alyssa, Lizzie, Gladys, and then there's general public. This is just general information. And then these are all the people that I could talk to. Now, if I go to Access Virtual Staffing, John. John is part of our recruitment team. So this is in our recruitment chat. We've got huddles. We can launch a huddle if I wanted to. I could hit start huddle. I've never actually done this before. And then I can invite Harold, Jafer, Tony. There's Angelica, who's on our team. So you can invite people into a huddle for a conversation, like a quick instant video conversation that you don't have to send out a Zoom. You don't have to send out a meeting request or a calendar request. You can actually create an instant huddle. Drafts and sent, things that you might want to send, but you haven't sent yet. And then on the left-hand side here, you'll see all of our channels, Access Insurance. So this is for just conversations about the insurance business. All Access Virtual Staffing. So this is Angelica sending one of our LinkedIn posts and encouraging everyone to check it out and support it. We've even got a AVS Digital. We've got a Bible devotional because there's a lot of people who are of faith, and so that's become something. Our executive team, our LinkedIn focused team, Jay for Princess, Angelica's on that. Let's see, new channels. That could just be start a new channel, join the new channel. Recruitment, reminders. This is something that Jafer has set up for me that reminds me to do things, but it's linked to our project management tool. So it'll let me, and then there's like a social channel where you can just share social things if you want to share social things. And then there's direct messages here. I think that's, I'm going to pause there just because we're at 10:30 and I'll take some questions or some thoughts. My closing summary is there's a lot of communication tools out there. Slack isn't the only one. I'm not saying it's the best one. It is a really good one, but as a virtual assistant, you could actually download a free Slack account. You could play around with it. You can invite some friends in there if you've never used it before and say, hey, I just want to learn Slack. And then you just start messaging. You create a channel. You could learn how to use Slack pretty quickly. You just need to take the time to do it. But what does that do for you? Well, if you start with a new company, or you're even at a new company right now, or you're at an old company that you've been a part of for a while, but their communication isn't so good, you could learn the tool, then suggest to use the tool, and now you're adding value. It's that proactivity we talked about earlier on. You having more knowledge and expertise in a particular area makes you more valuable. And that's why we're doing a lot of these trainings as well, is to think about, how do I get more valuable? How do I learn some new skills? How do I have more tools in my tool belt that I can suggest and use and implement over time? But I said a lot. I'm going to pause. I'll take some questions, or I'll take some comments or thoughts. I'll move around. Lillian, I haven't talked to you yet today, so I'm just curious, have you used Slack? What'd you get out of today? What's something that's on your mind?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me on this space. So mine is, I have learned that communication, we've always learned about communication, and now we are looking for ways of making communication more simplified for both the VA and the employers. And I have used Slack in the past, but not actively. I used Slack when I was part of a group that I was learning in, but I didn't know how to use it. So I didn't participate so much. But I have come to see that it's a very, very easy tool to use, considering it can be accessed on our phone. So it means you do not miss on any information that has been shared through by your team. How I am intending to use it is to now, as I am actively looking to transition my career to virtual assistant, is to now just make sure that I am able to communicate through this tool I have used other tools before, like WhatsApp, but I have found that you can be in a million WhatsApp groups. And sometimes you even lose track of which group you're in. But with Slack, I am happy to see that you can actually be able to classify which group you're in, and the people that are in that group are added. So this is a plus for me as I look to transition, and I hope that I can get to use it even with Access Virtual Staffing in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was just looking at and playing around, and Angelica, this may be something we could do. I don't know how we manage some of the communication with folks that tune in here, but I think actually on Slack, we could probably create a VA training group where we could send messages on Slack to everyone here and have some back and forth interaction. So maybe that's something that we'll learn out of this. But Lillian, thank you. I think it reinforces, and this is something we've done past trainings on, is the value of communication, the value of communicating well, and then the value of knowing how to use different communication tools and channels effectively. It's refreshing to me as a business leader and owner when somebody knows how to communicate well, is good at using the systems too, how they're meant to be used. Because if you throw a comment in a channel that's not meant for that particular topic or channel, then it actually causes confusion. So there's a little bit of discernment, I would say, as well as where, if I want to communicate something, where is the right place to communicate something, and making sure that you do that well as well. So inside of Slack, it's not only knowing the tool, but it's also knowing how to use the tool in a way that enhances communication. Because sometimes if we communicate too much or in the wrong way or in the wrong place, it may cause more confusion than actually more productivity and effectiveness. So that's something you learn over time, and we've worked internally about that. Is what are the right ways to communicate? What are the most effective ways to communicate? I think communication is one of the most important skills, whether it's written, whether it's verbal, whether it's on social media, and like putting your brand out there. Learning how to communicate more effectively is one of the most important skills you could develop as a virtual assistant, but also just in life with friends and family and anyone you're talking to. Thank you, Lillian. Joseph, anything else you want to add, or anything that came to
Yeah,
you as we're going through?
for sure. So, first I want to say thank you for everything, that this training you did. It was very well put together. But yeah, so I definitely agree. Like, Slack is, for example, as a business owner, I opened this because I'm good at selling insurance. I'm good at talking to people to identify their needs, and I'm good on that. It doesn't mean that I was good at opening a business. You know what I mean? So I'm good at what I do, and I'm good at spotting talent. So basically, as a business owner, I fired everyone. And now I'm in the process of hiring everyone. I'm wearing 1,000 hats right now, and slowly I want to start taking them off. But Slack is just a way to be able to communicate and make things a little bit smoother. Because is smooth is the way a business is gonna run the best. It's just, it's not always gonna be smooth, but at least if the communication can be one of the things that you don't have to worry about, that's actually good. And I didn't even know that you can have multiple organizations in Slack. That's awesome. So that's good there. And I like how you showed that I knew that you can have like different peoples in different groups, but the way that I forgot what I saw there, you show something and you started mentioning names in a group, and I'm like, oh wow, like you can have different channels, different categories, and all that. That's awesome. Um, so yeah, no, definitely. So everything, I definitely appreciate everything here, and that was something that I learned.
Yeah, and I'll just share a little bit beyond what Joseph was saying, because it's a valuable point just for anyone in business, but certainly as you're thinking from a virtual assistant perspective. Most business owners, Joseph talked about it. He's operating with a lot of different hats and trying to figure out a lot of different things all at the same time. I, as the chief operating officer of Access Virtual Staffing, am no different. I've got all different kinds of things that I'm trying to figure out. anyone you're interviewing with is probably interviewing you because they're dealing with some stuff that they're finding challenging. And a lot of it is, how do we become more efficient and more effective in general in our business? And so, going into the conversation, that that's a pain point for me, it's a pain point for Joseph, it's a pain point for most anybody you're talking to. How do I do something more effectively, more efficiently, so it takes up less of my bandwidth and less of my time? Just knowing that and then speaking it to them relates to them on a very, I'd say, deep leadership personal level, because most of us as business owners are dealing with that. So just remember that.
Mhm.
It's a valuable talking point, whether you're in a business or whether you're just interviewing for a business or interviewing with somebody. We're all dealing with it. We're all trying to do more higher level things and get help with all of the infrastructure, the systems, the tools. And that's why Slack is valuable if a business owner is open to it or a business is open to it, because it can effectively streamline communication when used well. It can make productivity expand in ways that if you're just trying to do it with all the different text messages and emails and things, it's not as optimal. But you have to use it and you have to use it right. So thank you for that, Joseph. All right, anyone else have a question? I see you, Gene. How are you? I see you're on camera. How is this conversation for you? Anything, maybe a takeaway or a question? Anything that you have?
Yes, good morning. I'm a first time this virtual assistant. One of my cousins told me I don't really know about for being a virtual assistant, but I just seeing a social media that virtual assistant is being high um, the demand on demand right now. So I'm kind of interested on how to be virtual assistants. Someone, one of my colleagues or my friends, resigning BPOs because they will be just having got earning. This was one of the virtual assistants. So I just curious, but I just want to learn on how to be a BA.
Very good. Well, good to have you here, and thank you for tuning in. And we're going to keep doing this probably every 2 weeks or so with different topics. So it's an opportunity to learn, as you said. And we also are, growing and building our business, and we're going to have more specific trainings over time. Where if you wanted to get into a particular area, because we're going to start focusing less broadly and more in different particular areas, you could actually take one of our training programs, get trained as a virtual assistant, so that we can then place you into different businesses that we end up promoting to. So just something to keep on your radar. And if you have resume and you want to, we're also building a system where you can input all your information, so you're in our database. And then as different opportunities come along and different trainings come along, we can let you know about them. You can find out about them. But good to have you here. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have a question? I see Jane, Antoinette, Infinix, Default, Rika. If you guys have any thoughts or questions, would love to hear them. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap up. Angelica, anything that you want to say? How do we do today? How was this? What feedback do you have?
Yeah, I mean, the seminar today is really good. Actually, to be honest, Slacks, though the time that we transition to Slacks is my second time, so I'm not that familiar with the channels, with adding organization on it. So it's kind of new also for me. But from using WhatsApp and Teams, Slack is one of the best platforms to use in team communication, especially most of the clients now or business owner preferred using Slacks because of the advantage, um uploading files or photos, images, the important ones. So I think as a virtual assistant or aspiring virtual assistant, especially Jean also mentioned that she wants to become a VA. So this is one of the best training that you attended, because this would be the platforms or tools that you might use in the future. Not just for Jean, but for all of us.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
I agree. No, I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I agree because you did talk to Jean, and I just want to let her know that that's true. Like I said, I've worked with a lot of the major companies in the United States for insurance brokerage, and Slack is the one that's usually there. So and everything that I've heard in this training is very educational. So yeah, no, this training was actually very good, Jean. I'm glad I made it here.
So you do health insurance, or what's your focus?
Yeah, I sell health insurance. Yeah, Medicare Marketplace, hospital indemnity, cancer policies, supplemental plans, Medicare supplemental plans,
And
things like that.
how do you lead source? How are you building?
What do you mean? Where
Like
I
how
get
are
my
you,
leads?
like, yeah, finding
I purchase leads. I have this thing with Anthem that they let me, because I'm a broker, I have a lot of insurance companies, but with Anthem they let me go sit down in CVS, and I'm there for an hour in different CVSs in my area. I social media ads, my website, get referrals through there. Sign up for a brochure, get an
Yeah,
email. Net, you know,
cool. Good.
yeah,
Well, good to meet you. Glad
yeah.
you,
No, no, for sure. No, I'm glad here, and I'll be here for the next one. I'll definitely because it wasn't for me. I know that I can definitely get some input out of this.
yeah, and we can talk a little bit more too, because as we're um, building and growing and scaling, like
Mm-hmm.
we actually do a bunch of affiliate type stuff as well. So you
Yeah, no,
probably,
my goal is, man, to have hired insurance agent and have a VA for them. You know what I mean? Like that's my goal. Like I want to have, when I hired an insurance agent, I want to have a VA. So, maybe this is where we all start, and one day you find me a VA when I find an agent, and we'll just, let's just take it from there. But I appreciate this, man.
yeah, we never know. We never
Yes,
know who
sir.
comes into our, that's something, that's just a general message for everyone, and something I've realized in my life, and I encourage everyone is develop good relationships with all kinds of people. You never know the
Mm-hmm.
relationship you developed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, coming full circle. And that's another encouragement to everyone here. You may be in some ways intimidated by social media. Like I've run into people there, but building your brand on social media, even if it's just simply reaching out on connections, doing a regular posting on LinkedIn or other places, it takes time and consistency. But if you're not working, it's good to be building your brand on all these different social media platforms, because you learn that stuff. That's valuable tools for potential future employers as well. Right now, we're really working on LinkedIn, and people who have had skills with LinkedIn are more appealing to us from a marketing perspective. Or Facebook, like Angelica is doing a lot of stuff on Facebook, but she came in with some skills around just brand and how to communicate and how to put out posts and how to set up a go high level account and promote it on different platforms. So like all of these little things that you can learn sometimes in the pockets of your spare time when you are looking for work, just increase and enhance your appeal. But I started with talking about relationships. Build good relationships. The more you can give to people, the more you can share wisdom and value. That's part of what we're doing here. Obviously this is a free training, but we're looking to share a lot of wisdom, support all of you, but also build relationships with everyone, because as we expand, we're looking for more and more good people with good talent and hopefully with good skills. That some of it comes out of these trainings. And, as an example, I met Joseph today. I didn't know Joseph before today's conversation, but now we have a relationship. We've had a little bit of a conversation. I know a little bit about what he does. He knows a little bit about what I do, and we'll probably have a future conversation. Lillian and I met on the first training, and now she's been here every training. So I've had an interaction with her multiple times. We actually had an individual meeting. She's on LinkedIn. Like there's all different ways that you can just see relationships building in this particular conversation. So I know sometimes it's challenging to reach out to somebody or to connect with somebody, but the more you get good at doing that, the more valuable over time it becomes, because then you've got all these valuable relationships. People know you, they know you're a good person, they know you can add value. And that's something that's important and really worth the investment of time over time for yourself, whether you're starting out or, I've been in business for over 25 years and I'm still working on building great relationships with people, because those relationships pay off over time, both personally, like from a fulfillment perspective, but also from a, business development, like lucrative perspective. So that's my final message, is build great relationships. We started out with take care of yourself, be proactive, learn some of these tools, especially like Slack and other tools, and then build great relationships with people. Go above and beyond what somebody else is doing. That's how you really stand out in a crowd. And I said that in, whether it's an interview or with someone you're working with, how can you go the extra mile, do the extra thing so that somebody's like, I really like the way Joseph was complimentary. I'm just using Joseph as an example, but he was really engaged and complimentary today, right? Like, I'll take that away from me. I like Joseph. Joseph is a nice guy. He compliments, he pays attention. He got, all of this stuff. So anyway, Joseph, thank you I'm just using you as an example, but
Man, it was a pleasure being here.
I like that. All right, everyone, have a beautiful, I know it's 10:50 a.m. my time. If you're in the Philippines, that means it's late your time. And I think, some of us are in between there, but have a beautiful, blessed day, night, and we'll be doing more of this. So hope to see you soon.